Good afternoon, friends, and welcome to the Rotary Club of York, the 26th largest Rotary Club in the world, and a club dedicated to imagining and living out the Rotary mission of service above self. I am Glenn Miller, the club president. I hope you enjoyed the drive up to the club today. Was that not the most breathtaking vista as we came in? Our opening song today, the Star Spangled Banner, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Mike Osherman. Our invocation will be led by Dave Hogue, and our visitors and visiting Rotarians will be introduced by David Christensen. Please take a moment to silence your electronic devices.
Please join me in singing the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight and the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Let's salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's give thanks. Oh God, today we invest a few minutes of our lives to recall what unchecked evil brings about in the world. Help us remember so that we may recognize genocide as it is forming, and so that upon recognizing its formation, we are prompted to take decisive action against it. We confess that over the past century, civilization has failed to take such timely action in Nazi Germany, in Soviet Ukraine, in Cambodia, and in too many other places and situations. We pray that exploring our past will inspire our future, and that it will help us gain the wisdom and courage to stand for you. May your grace and mercy be known in those parts of the world that wrestle today with the evil of war and other political and religious violence. In every form, evil tears lives apart, and we ask that you bring healing to those directly impacted. We pray that you bless Rotary with growth and success in serving others through honoring the four-way test. And we thank you for the food you provided for us today. We ask your blessing on it and on those who prepared and served us to us. Amen.
I am pleased to have the honor of introducing our guests for today's meeting. When I call your name, please stand and remain standing until President Glenn has welcomed you. Guests of past President Di Hershey, Gary Butler. Also guests of past President Di Hershey, Molly Dahlmeyer. Guests of past President Rob Bowen, Jenny Goodling. Guests of Jim May, Mark Schmidt. Guests of past President Ann Druck, Allison Siegelman. Guests of Mark Wheeler, Tanya Wheeler. Also guests of Mark Wheeler, Eric Wilson. Guests of Tom Caltagirone, Calta Garone, sorry. Michelle Young, guests of the club, Ted Wheeler, and we have several guests of Elliot Weinstein, Josh Jeffy, Marshall Clavin, Ryan Lubb, Randy Friedman, Barry Friedland, and then finally guests of Calweary, Brent Kingsley.
Thank you, Dave. Friends, thank you for joining us today. I know you will enjoy and be enriched by the program, and I hope that you will return to us again. As you have hopefully already realized, this club is a lively and diverse group of community leaders, all of whom would warmly welcome your interest in joining our ranks. Rotarians, please help me welcome our visitors. You may be seated. Mike Osherman, by the way, nice job on the national anthem. I just have to say, I'm really glad I was able to sing harmony on that today. The IDEA committee will meet on October 31st at 8 a.m. via Zoom. The membership committee will meet on November the 2nd at 1:30 in the mixed grill downstairs here at CCY following our club meeting. Membership committee would also like to recognize Rodney Sechrist on the anniversary of his 40th year as a member of the Rotary Club of York. Is Rodney here today? Congratulations. We are better for having you, Rodney. The condolences of the club are extended today to Rotarian Michael Muldrow upon the death this week of his father, Tom, also known in the community as Big Mo Muldrow. We remember him in our prayers. And also in our prayers today, Jim May, who is hospitalized at Sloan Kettering today. Today, we were supposed to have a committee-focused moment on the IDEA committee, and Jen May, who was doing that, is unfortunately under the weather, but there is one announcement about a project that the committee has undertaken, and to handle that for us is the co-chair, Cal Weary. Cal.
Rotary, let's sing. No, I'm saying. I know whenever you see me here that you think that's the only reason I'm here. So I am blessed to be a co-chair for the IDEA committee, and we have a wonderful opportunity to partner with our friends of Lebanon Cemetery. The IDEA committee, you'll see there are these nifty little flyers on your table. We are spreading a project to remember the fallen and honor those who serve and teach our children the value of freedom. They have $15 wreaths for sponsorship, and these will go on all of the placestones there at Lebanon Cemetery. We will also have a table here next week for this process, and we hope that each and every one of you will sponsor a wreath. And that's my time. Those 6 minutes.
Thanks, Cal. We'll get a song from you later. The IDEA committee has undertaken this project, and it really is quite wonderful. Many of you, hopefully all of you, will remember that we had a program last year about the Lebanon Cemetery and its remarkable history in our community. And I know members of the committee actually went out and did a work day helping to clean up the cemetery. So that's a very fitting continuing support project for them. And those are our announcements, and so it's a pleasure to be able to move right to the program tonight at the healing. Well, let me invite Elliot to please join me at the podium. But I have something to say before he does the introduction of our speaker. Tonight at the Healing of the Breach Through Diversity Education presentation and awards ceremony, which will be held at the York JCC. Elliot will be honored with the Tikkun Olam Repair the World Award and recognized for his contributions to expanding diversity education initiatives. On behalf of the Rotary Club of York, we congratulate you, Elliot, for being a champion of diversity education for decades here in York and beyond. And I would be remiss if I didn't also notice that our former Rotarian and guest today, Randy Friedman, will also be honored tonight. So Randy, why don't you stand, and Elliot's already standing, and let's give them both a round of applause.
I promised Lynn 2 minutes, not easy for me, as you know, but I will do my best. So let me just tell you an interesting story in these couple minutes of how this Penn State educational initiative that you will soon learn from Boaz Dvir evolved over the past few years. Like many of you, I was thrilled when our fellow Rotarian, Tom Wolf, became our governor in 2014. And with my own Penn State pride, I mentioned to Tom as governor, he gets to appoint university trustees. Be careful what you wish for sometimes. But I was lucky to be among one of his first appointments as a trustee. But as someone living, and as Glenn said, by the expression never again, it's compelling to me that never again is not just words, but meaningful action. To avert the unthinkable of history repeating itself, of the worst of humankind, the Holocaust. So being acquainted with our Pennsylvania legislature's Act 70 enacted in 2014 at the end of the Corbett administration, we Pennsylvanians were among the first states, now there were 22, to adopt an educational curriculum of Holocaust, genocide, and human rights for our 501 school districts, public school districts. As a new Penn State trustee receiving daily newsletter, there was one particular newsletter in 2015, 7 years ago, that had a story of this professor that made documentaries. He had a recent documentary on PBS, but it was called A Wing and a Prayer. And what it was about was the start of the Israeli Air Force, something you never think about, which was a turning point to the miracle of the rebirth of the state of Israel in 1948. It's an amazing story, still get it online, of young World War II aviators forming a makeshift rat tail pseudo Air Force, gathering remnants of leftover World War II planes, resulting in Israel's reestablishment after 2,000 years. So of course, I was compelled to meet this professor. So it was Happy Valley's Arts Fest in State College in 2015. My wife and I tend to go there. She loves shopping at Art Fest. I can't stand it. I'll do anything not to go shopping with her. So as a trustee, I got to find something to do. So everyone likes to talk to Penn State trustees and think you're big house on campus, no big deal, but they think so. Perception, not reality. So I went to introduce myself to this unknown to me Professor Dvir. So I mentioned to him when we first met about my Holocaust education interest, and wouldn't it be great if Penn State's resources, with its incredible broad reach of 100,000 plus students, 40,000 employees, Pennsylvania's largest economic generator, could possibly, just maybe, take the lead on this Pennsylvania Act 70 for Holocaust, genocide, and human rights education. And of course, as we all know from Penn State, its core land grant mission, founded by President Lincoln under the Morrill Act of 1862, surely there was now a new opportunity for a new level of education to serve Pennsylvania's by our Department of Education. So now you're all about to learn about this unique initiative for character building in the classroom for K through 12 students, to gain insight into the human condition, to acquire life skills such as civic discourse, inquiry, critical thinking, and empathy. And what's really incredible is just 2 months ago, by the lead generosity of Vic and Dina Hamill of Reading, and supported by our new incredible president, Dr. Neely Ben-Deputy, Penn State now has a new strategic initiative the PSU Center, Penn State Center of Human Rights, which really basically evolved from the story of Governor Wolf's appointment to me as a trustee, and now led by one of my best friends. So it's with the greatest of honor and pleasure for me to introduce to my York Rotary, my best friend, Penn State Professor Boaz Dvir.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, Rotary Club. Wow, I've spoken to Rotary clubs before. It didn't look like this, I have to tell you. It did not look, this is really class act, and thank you for coming out on a beautiful day to hear me tell you about this new approach to helping teachers. What I'm going to talk about is really a support mechanism we're building that doesn't exist mysteriously enough in our country to help teachers teach difficult topics. But I'll also begin with a story inspired by Eliot, and I will ask Allison to stand for a minute. So Allison, one day out of the blue, says, hey, would you like to speak to a local district about your program? This was just when the program was an idea. It was just an idea. We hadn't done it. I said, sure, we'd love to. And so, thank you, Allison. One thing I like about this, you get your exercise here. It's stand up and down. And we got on a Zoom. This was in the midst of the pandemic, right? When everyone was just meeting on Zoom. And we met with Scott and Eric. Eric, please stand up. Eric from the Red Line Area School District. And we came to them with what really on its face may sound like a bit of a crazy idea. And as I explain it, you'll see why. The way we approach what's known as professional development for teachers is very different than the way it's been done for many decades around this country. And really what we aim for ultimately is a total mind shift in the way teachers teach. Now we focus on difficult topics. So the way teachers teach difficult topics, but they can adopt that thinking for other topics as well. And so we come with this idea to Eric and Scott, and we say, how would you like to try something, that's totally different than anything anybody's ever done before, number one. Number two, how would you like to try something that's just an idea that we haven't even tested yet? We have not done it anywhere. We were going into our pilot year. We did have a statewide program on a parallel track at the same time, but we hadn't done it yet. We were going into it. So we ended up in our pilot year with two programs, a statewide program for 20 teachers from around the country, from the state, and one program that we proposed to Eric and Scott. So totally different, number one. Number two, untested, hasn't been tried. You would be, in a sense, we didn't quite say it, though in that Zoom, but a guinea pig, right? Oh, and number three, what is it about? Difficult topics, the most controversial topics you can think of, right? All of these difficult topics that people get up in arms about, that they storm school boards with signs and cause a whole big commotion about. Now, who would say yes to that? Who would take such a risk? That's a big risk to take. Eric and Scott did. They took that risk. And then they said, well, let's start small, okay? Why don't you come and present this to our teachers on the very last day of school to tell them to join this program for the following year. Now, they just finished a year under the pandemic. They really just want to go home, and we're coming and telling them, oh, why don't you sign up with us for a whole year of professional development next year? It's going to be much more difficult than any professional development you've ever done. Yeah, you can do other professional development that's easy, but why? Come make your life really difficult because you're teachers, and what you want, what do you really need? Your life to be even more difficult than it already is. And we anticipated that if we were lucky, we would get 2 to 3 teachers to sign up. And that would have been fine. That would have been good. It's a pilot year. Let's get going. It's intensive. It requires, I mean, basically it's professional development led by the participants, where usually what you see in professional development is a passive experience with the teachers kicking back, taking in a lecture. Maybe it's relevant, maybe it's not, maybe it's of quality, maybe not. They may use it, they might not use it. There's no follow-up, there's no action planning. There's no real classroom application, right, built into it. This is nothing but implementation from day one. So we thought, okay, 2 to 3 really superstar teachers will sign up. And out of those 2 or 3, 1 or 2 will actually make it through the year. 20 teachers signed up. 20 teachers signed up. All of them completed. All of them improved their instruction of difficult topics, which I'll get to more in a minute. But before I explain more of that, I want to say a lot of the credit for why it succeeded goes to, number one, the teachers. These were brave teachers, willing to do this, saying that, you know what? Yeah, I can just get through teaching the Civil War or slavery or some of these other topics. I can just get by. Or I can take this very difficult road, this big challenge, and learn to do it right because it can make a difference for these students and for our community. These were brave teachers who did this. And second, equally important, incredible, visionary, brave leadership of Eric and Scott. And I would like to give them a round of applause. And thanks to them, now that we've done it for a year and have data that we've collected and we're researching, we are in 6 districts in the state of Pennsylvania. We have just won a National Endowment of the Humanities grant for a national program. And we are the first university to actually work on character development with the Navajo Nation. The first. When we began talking to them, they said, you're wasting your time. Other universities that tried, no way. And they told us, you are really pushing it, because what we wanted to help them was not math or biology. We wanted to help them with the essence of what their educational independent system is about. Character development for their students, something they hold like as a treasure, and something do not want outsiders to tell them how to do. But we said, we don't come in and tell you how to do it. We learn from you, we help you. And we just are in the middle of our first year with them, already planning the second year. But it all began right here in York County. One day, when this becomes the way that we do professional development around the country, and I believe it will be, you can say it started in your home county. So, yeah, to you. So what is this? What is this? You have teachers all over the country, K to 12, who want and need to teach difficult topics. What kind of difficult topics? There are all kinds. We never define them. We don't tell our participants, this is a difficult topic, but this is not. If it's a difficult topic to you, but not to me, then it's a difficult topic. Could be the other way around. There are many. When you think of any topic or any subject or any grade level, there are difficult topics there. Biology, well, evolution is a difficult topic to teach, right? History, Civil War, very difficult topic to teach, and so forth and so on. Holocaust is a difficult topic too. Now, some are difficult, but not controversial. Others are difficult and controversial. Evolution now is both. Civil War now, slavery are both. Holocaust, interestingly enough, in our country, for the most part, difficult, not that controversial, not that controversial. You don't have a lot of people storming school board meetings, complaining that they're going to teach the Holocaust. They might complain if they're going to teach critical race theory or gender, but not so much. You don't see that so much. So the Holocaust is one of the topics we have. And we certainly bring it as part of our training to demonstrate, to show our participants how to use content, but it's not necessarily something that all our teachers teach. We have kindergarten, we have music teachers, biology, we have a business teacher now in one of our districts, and they decide what the difficult topic is. They team up with us at the beginning of, well, not necessarily the beginning, but in the middle of the summer, and they action plan. They make a plan. Now, there are programs out there for some of the difficult topics, particularly the Holocaust. The Holocaust has benefited greatly from having some outstanding programs around the country where they bring in teachers, often in the summer, and give them great content to teach when it comes to the Holocaust. And some of them do phenomenal programs. Some of them take their teachers to Europe and take them to the death camps, to Poland, for instance. Sometimes they take him to Israel. Often they would take him to some of the incredible museums we have for these topics in Washington, D.C., in Los Angeles, in New York, right? But what often happens is, number one, these are often the superstar teachers. And number two, they come back with a lot of excitement and a lot of great new material that then they have to figure out how to fit into their curriculum. So the first thing we do with all our participants, after letting them decide what is the difficult topic they want to approach, is to talk to them about what do you already have on your plate going into the school year that we can help you with. We insist that no one in our program ever takes on anything extra because teachers already have way too much on their plates, way too much. And our job is not to add to it. Our job is to take away. Our job is to make their life ultimately easier, not more difficult. So once we've identified a pain point, a goal that they may have, then we work with them to action plan around it, to think from day one about that implementation, and to then do it their own way. If they need expertise, we connect them to it. We have about 12 content experts with us on our initiative who are affiliated with us, who work for Penn State. That's easy. But really, it can be anywhere, anyone. I mean, professors and researchers, even if they're based at other universities, are thrilled to be able to give their expertise to help in a K-12 space. They rarely, if ever, get that chance. Easy enough for us to connect any one of our participants with any kind of expert. And you never know. You know, our work with the Navajo Nation called for the expertise of the elders. So there are different experts. So we brought in the elders to be their content experts. So it really depends, right? Here in Red Line, different topics and different expertise. But then they explore their topic. They come up with a compelling question. They come up with ideas on how to attack that, collect data around it, put together a plan, implement that plan in the classroom, collect data around that, and reflect. In the process, they join what we, in a sense, built for them is a community of other teachers with whom they share their challenges, their concerns, their problems, but also their triumphs and successes, and can really feel safe in this environment, right? I remember Eric actually telling me, visiting one of these sessions and saying, you know, to me, well, I kind of held back. This was their space, and I wanted it to keep it that way. I wanted to keep it their pristine, safe environment for them to exchange. Teachers need that. And out of that comes transformation. Our ultimate goal with teachers, although we don't say, hey, you got to do this, we work with them, we guide them gently, is to arrive at a place where they empower their students to explore these topics for themselves. That's our ultimate goal. And I'll begin with the why that is our ultimate goal before I talk about how we do it. The why is simple but powerful. We believe, based on research that we've looked at, based on work that we have done, and based on theories that we have developed that are panning out and we are studying, we believe that the effective instruction of difficult topic, coupled with the empowerment of students in the K-12 space to explore the truth and the outcome for themselves, can be transformative. We believe the magic can happen there. That's where students can finally really excel in a different way. Yes, students can excel on tests. They can learn a lot of facts. Those are important. And I'm not taking away from that. I teach journalism. I'm a big believer in the dissemination of knowledge. I also can tell you that our school systems in the United States, and you will appreciate this as business people, our school system, for all the criticism we throw at it, actually objectively does a really good job at disseminating knowledge. If it didn't, then the United States would not be what it is today, which is still by far, bar none, with no competition, really the greatest economy the world has ever seen. There is no economy anywhere, no marketplace that comes close to the United States, not one. Sometimes we hear about Japan, remember that in the 80s? That, was the big scare anyway. Then China, I think that's kind of gone away too, right, lately? I don't know who they're going to tell us next, but no, there isn't. There's no one out there who can compete really, truly with the American economy. And not just with the American economy, but with American innovation and American innovation, entrepreneurship, and American companies. So we must be doing something right at the school level, right? The other indication, by the way, that we do a good job disseminating knowledge is that we have by far, again, no one comes close. There's no country, there's no region, there's no continent, actually, that can compete, the whole cluster of countries with American higher education. What are the best universities on the planet? America, right? Yale, Harvard, Stanford, Penn State. I mean, who can even touch it? So we do a good job with the dissemination of knowledge. So we don't bother with that. We leave it alone. We focus on other areas where, as much as we know that we're doing well economically, yes, there might be a recession and we'll have bumps in the road, but we'll be fine. We also know that we have a problem. We have a problem, and it's not that we argue too much. I don't think the problem is, and now I'm going to interject a little bit of my opinion, but I think it helps move the story along. And that is, to me, I don't think the issue is that we don't agree enough, that we disagree too much. I think it's the opposite. I think we don't disagree enough. We go into our echo chambers. We tune into the confirmation bias. And we don't have good, healthy discussions where we respect each other's points of view and listen and understand that it's okay to disagree. And it's actually this disagreement that makes our society healthy. So we want to work with teachers on creating civic discourse in their classroom. And we want to work with them on using this, educational journey that they take their students on, that often can be difficult, obviously, to help these students gain insight, not just knowledge, but insight into the human condition, as Elliot mentioned. And not just insight in general, but insight that's contextualized to the here and now, lessons that we can draw on for today. Take the Holocaust. There are two schools of thought on the Holocaust, and they're both right. One says the Holocaust is too unique for us to draw any lessons from. As someone who knows the Holocaust, I'm not a scholar on the Holocaust. I'm not an expert like some of the experts we have at the initiative, but I know a lot more than most people about it, enough to tell you that is true. It is too unique. I don't know if we'll have time, I'll give you an example as to why it's so unique. I can come back to it during the Q&A. But then there's the other school to which the initiative belongs that says, yeah, it's unique, but that doesn't mean we can't draw lessons from it for today. Is the Holocaust likely to happen again here in this country? No, it's not. I don't want to say it's zero because nothing's zero, but it's what? 1 in gazillion trillion. I mean, it's no. But does it offer us lessons that we can contextualize, that we can draw on, that can help us make our society better? You better believe it. So we work with the teachers to understand. You don't just teach history in a vacuum. You make it alive. You bring it for today. And then we work with the teachers also on using that experience to enable their students to gain life skills. Because these life skills are essential. And in many ways, maybe more important than knowledge. Critical thinking, active listening, empathy. These are not skills that happen on their own. You have to give students the opportunity to gain them and work with them on gaining those skills. And think what a difference that can make for a kid. When they develop empathy, yes, it helps their classmates, but it helps them Because now when you're empathetic, you make more friends, right? Your life is enriched by it. You get along better with people. You open yourself up to experiences. And you start to realize as a kid that what you are learning in school matters and matters right now. It's not just if I do well in biology, one day I'll become a doctor. Or if I do real well in civics, one day I'll be an attorney. That's all very important. We're not taking away from that. We're fortifying that. We're also adding to it, infusing some meaning to the here and now by showing kids, wow, what you are learning can make a difference right here, right now. So we encourage our participants to give students agency. Now, in this country, we don't give a lot of agency to kids, right? And I think that's okay for the most part. I don't think we want 8-year-olds to drive. I don't think we want 9-year-olds to smoke. So, but this, the instruction of difficult topics, this is a place where we can and should give them agency. And here's why. If a student realizes, I'm not just going to sit there in class and I'm going to be lectured to and I'm going to listen to this and maybe I'll regurgitate it on a test, but instead I can determine for myself what I want to learn. I can come up with my question that I want to pursue under this topic. And then I'm going to actually go seek out the facts, the data around it through secondary and primary research. That can be transformative for kids. Furthermore, we go a step further and we say, we're not going to tell you as a child what to think about that. We're not going to indoctrinate you. We're not going to tell you what's right, what's wrong. You're going to figure it out. And you're going to figure out why it matters to you and what you want to do about it. So maybe a kid has the opportunity to learn about Ukraine, and her conclusion is, I want to form an anti-bullying club. That's cool. That's just a quick adult example. They come up with much better projects. But you can see how kids can really transform their own experience in school through this, and how the instruction of difficult topic can give them that opportunity. How am I doing on time? I have a couple more minutes. I have 5 more minutes. Okay, great. So when we look at, I'm trying to think if I have 5 minutes, what's, you know, what do I talk about and what do I leave out? So I'll give you examples of some projects, right, the teachers have done. We had a teacher in one of our programs who taught the Civil War for 33 years. And when she heard of our program, she immediately wanted to join because she wanted to learn and figure out ways on how to teach the Civil War more effectively. She always felt that her students were not quite as engaged as she would like them to be around this topic. And especially in recent years, kind of took the blame for it. She took the blame because she felt, while she knew the content exceptionally well, she did not know how to teach it well. And it only became more and more challenging because suddenly this topic, which was already challenging, is now also quite controversial. And she was brave enough to continue teaching it, doing the best she can, and join a program to actually take it on and do it better. Many teachers, and I do not blame them, I'd probably be in their group, faced with having to teach a difficult topic, shy away from it. Who needs it? Why deal with it? What's the upside for a teacher of teaching one of these topics? You know? Get fired? I mean, you know, have parents call your principal complaining? If you don't know how to teach it, even if you know what to teach, and you know that it's a minefield, then maybe the best thing to do is not to step into that minefield, to go around it. So many teachers skip it, rush through it, forget about it, you know, teach it in a vanilla manner, just do the bare minimum. But this teacher said, no, I'm sick of that. This is too important of a topic. This can really help my students. If they can gain, you know, the knowledge about the Civil War, it can really help them. So she joined our program. And we told her that our ultimate goal was to have her students figure things out for themselves. But she has been teaching for 33 years, and she's been teaching in a traditional manner, like 99.9% of our teachers in this country, which means kind of like what I'm doing now, standing and talking and the students taking notes. And we're saying, there's actually a more effective way to do that. We want you to entrust your students with it. Let them guide the learning. Let them own it. And she slowly but surely started to buy into it to some degree. And first she had to change her own mindset, right? I'm not just going to be a sage on a stage delivering knowledge to the kids. No, instead, I'm going to work with them, and together we're going to explore this. Okay, we're going to come up together with a compelling question, and we're together going to explore and figure out the data and figure out, the answers to the questions that we come up with. And she did it, and she did it very, very well. And she felt for the first time in her teaching career that she taught a full Civil War lesson, that her students were fully engaged, that they learned a lot from it. And now she's joined us for a second year, because now she's finally ready to totally hand it over to her students. Let them drive it. She saw just enough to know that they can run with it. So now she's in her second year with us, about to hand it over to them. And I, again, believe that's where the magic can really happen. Students can really surprise us with what they come up with. They really can surprise us. They really need us to give them the opportunity to develop their character. And I don't think we provide that enough. I think we, like the Navajo Nation, should think about how do we bring our elders into the schools and let these young kids interview them according to what they want to find out and what they want to learn about, and draw their own conclusions from it. And in the process, these students will strengthen their own identity, sharpen their own perspective, all while embracing others, because they'll understand, right? That just like they want to be accepted, they have to accept other students with other perspectives and other identities, and that this is not a threat to them or to society, these differences, but the opposite. This is the fabric of what we're all about. This is the beauty. And if kids grow up with that appreciation and that excitement for differences and civic discourse, then yes, I think in time, not tomorrow, not the next day, but in 10, 15, 20 years, we can have a new society, so that the rest of our society, of the American society today, is as glorious and strong and a beacon of hope and light as our economy is to the world. Thank you. I'll take questions. Yeah, I'd love, if anyone has a question, I'd love to hear. Oh, of course, yeah. Yes. So did everyone hear that? The project that the kids decided to focus on. So that's going to happen this year. She was not quite ready. None of our participants, we had 40 participants last year in 2 cohorts. One was statewide, one was at Red Line. They all were able to teach differently and much more effectively, boldly take on these difficult topics like they never had before. Each and every one of them really surprised me. I did not expect that. Each and every one of them was able to transcend their hesitation and really go and teach it in a powerful, engaging way. None of them were quite ready to hand it over like that's happening this year. Half of the Red Line participants who spent a whole year with us last year, half of them are doing a second year with us. And we have a second cohort with Red Line. And we, as I mentioned, we have several other districts. So we're okay with that. If teachers need more time to jump into really handing it over to the students. But we have several participants who went as far as saying, we're ready to hand it over to the students, not just on difficult topics, but on other topics. We've seen enough to know that students can really lead their education to a new level, a deeper level. So I'll come back and tell you what project they come up with. We'll find out at the end of the year. When we have it, we celebrate this at the end of the year and we share. And I will be glad to come back and tell you. Yes. Have we experienced resistance to the pedagogy? So the pedagogy is based on a mechanism known as inquiry. The word inquiry may sound familiar. It's used in social science. It has the same name as what we say in social science, but it's a little different. It's a professional development mechanism. It's been around for several decades. It is recognized by scholars, mostly in higher education, although they don't themselves use it, ironically. But the folks who study it, it's recognized widely as by far the best pedagogy that we have come up with ever. And yet it's totally underutilized. Very school districts use it. Sometimes they say inquiry, but they don't really do it. They kind of take and extrapolate certain aspects of it. And when I said Red Line was brave, this is part of it, that they were ready to, let's embrace inquiry for the teachers. Now, as well established as inquiry is for teachers, there's also research that using the same mechanism as I described with students is even more effective, that they can take to it even more naturally, quickly than adults. And that's severely underutilized. There is some research on it. It has been used, but sparingly. And so our innovations, we have several, is number one, marrying inquiry to difficult topics. In all the decades it's been used, there's not any evidence that it's been used with difficult topics. And yet our theory, and it is panning out, has been that inquiry coupled with difficult topics is actually even more powerful. And we're finding out that that's the case, that inquiry can be more powerful when used with difficult topics, when in fact they've been kind of separated. We also, our other innovation is to really bring it to the student level. We want an aim to bring inquiry to students everywhere, every kid, every school throughout the state and eventually the country, because they deserve to have the opportunity to develop these skills and to own their education. So is there resistance to all of that? Yes, there is. And often when we meet with districts, they get very excited that we can help them with difficult topics and they're ready to come in and do it. And then when we tell them how we do it and how intensive it is and that it does require a mindset shift, some of them do shy away. They do. We've had some districts walk away saying, oh, we're not ready, that's too much. And we don't sugarcoat it. We tell them it is a bigger push up front. It is more difficult. It takes more energy and time and effort up front than sitting in a lecture. It really does. But as much of an uphill climb as it is initially in the first half of our program, it's a downhill run after that. Things start to get much easier. Not only are they excited to teach these topics, but suddenly, these pain points that they had, these objectives that they had to meet, these evaluations they had to prepare for. Now suddenly it's much easier. They have a support system behind them. They're ready to do it. They can rattle off. Suddenly this lesson that they were so weary of teaching is invigorating to everyone and it helps in every which way. So it's an uphill climb in the beginning, downhill run. And we hope that enough districts take a chance on it that others will see there's nothing to really feel. But yes, it is a point of resistance. Yes. Thank you. I appreciate that. Good to have you. Looking forward to it. Yes, I think you also had a question. We would love to. Please put us in touch with your superintendent and/or assistant superintendent for professional development or chief academic officer. Eric's title, I believe your title is chief academic officer. Is that correct? Yes. But you oversee professional development. Yeah. You know, the chances of us finding another Eric are slim, but we hope. Someone 10% as good as Eric, we will have a great program. Yeah, so we would love to do that. Yes.
For that, and they led the way to what county in terms of diversity education, from Holocaust education as well. So Dallas ought to be next on the list.
I'm not surprised, and thank you for sowing those seeds. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, and then I'll go to you, Allison. Yes. Sorry.
I don't have a clear sense of what it is yet.
Okay.
What it is you're actually teaching or how you teach them.
Right.
How you will teach them to sign up so they know what they're getting into. I'm really interested in how do you measure effectiveness? What metrics let you know what it has done?
Right. Great questions. Great questions. So how do we entice them? Every district is different, but they all have professional development requirements. Those requirements enable teachers to recertify or certify as teachers. It enables them to move up the salary scale. It enables them to prepare for evaluations, etc. So every district has different professional development requirements and needs. And we meet with the district up front and together plot out the program for the coming year. Our programs are either year-long or semester-long. Most are year-long. And so it depends. We are authorized to provide Act 48 credits. So I'll give that as one quick, easy example. It's actually not what we're doing in Red Line, but it's just an easy example. And that is teachers in the state need 180 hours of professional development credits, Act 48 credits, every 5 years to earn the recertification. The most they can earn per year is 60. As I mentioned, almost all of that is for passive experiences. They go, they sit for 2 hours, they get 2 points. In our program, our participants earn the full 60 points, and they earn it mostly for the work they're doing, which is a new thing that the state has never done before. So you can see how we can incentivize teachers to come join us, right? I mean, you can earn 60 credits and not get much out of it, or you can do this and actually really become a better teacher and make a big difference for your students. So that's one. As far as the actual program, we begin with a seminar, an intensive institute in the summer. Depending on the district, it can be anywhere from half a day. Our longest, we're doing one this summer that's 2 weeks. So it really depends on the program, anywhere from a day to 2 weeks of intense work with a lot of action planning, with a lot of customization for each teacher, trying to achieve her goals going into the next school year. Then during the year, we meet every other week. There's a lot of work that the teachers do, and we work with them pedagogically. We put them through 3 cycles of inquiry. The first is just to show them what it is. We do it as a group, and then they do one on their own, and then they do one in the spring in their classroom. So they go through this inquiry cycle on their own, collecting data on their own compelling question. Meanwhile, we apply for an RBI. I don't know if you know what that is, but anyway, it's a very tough process to be able to conduct scholarly research, university level. And once we have that in, we work with the teachers. We use surveys, we use interviews, we look at artifacts that they allow us to do, like lesson plans. We do classroom observations, and we collect all that data throughout the year. And then at the end of the year, we evaluate that data. We first and foremost use it to make any changes that we need to make our program stronger in general and or specifically for that particular partnership. And we also then take it and use it to produce material that we share. Like we just finished our first paper for a peer-reviewed journal, and we just submitted to our first conferences, academic conferences, to present our findings. And we got accepted, and Eric and two of our pedagogical experts are going to do our first presentation next week, right? Next month. So that is the process. We do not provide a curriculum per se. We don't teach them what to teach, but we teach them how to teach. We do bring in, as I mentioned, along the way, we do bring in content to show the teachers how they can use it in a classroom. So I'll give you an example, if I may. I have a minute to give an example? 1 minute, I'll give you this example, and then the cane pulls me out. So we have two Holocaust scholars actually affiliated with us from Penn State, and one of them does a session on language. She shows how our use of Holocaust phrasing really, when you dig down, is a little troubling. Take, for instance, the infamous term final solution. How many of you have heard the term final solution? Yeah, practically everyone, right? And it means, basically the Nazis deciding we're going to murder every single Jewish man, woman, and child on the planet. I'm simplifying it, but that's the bottom line, right? Well, what's wrong with that term? It's a Nazi term. It's a Nazi propaganda term. It implies that there was a problem to be fixed. Final solution. Final solution. What the German Jews, were they a problem? The German Jews were a small percentage of the population, highly patriotic, fought in World War I, almost no crime, paid their taxes. There was no problem. There was no problem to be solved. So that's just one example, right? And she goes down the line, there are several more. And then in the same session, we ask our participants to think about the phrasing, the terminology they use in their own subject matter with their own students, to look at it, to re-examine it, to find its roots, and to see are there benefits in having a discussion around some of this terminology, where it comes from, what it really means with your students. So I hope I answered your question. Thank you so much. I enjoyed speaking with you.
Our best programs are always the ones that are the most painful to allow to end. So I'm sure that Boaz will stick around for a few minutes and be willing to engage anyone one-on-one for continued conversation. On behalf of all of us at the Rotary Club of York, thank you not only for your presence here today in presenting this program, but far more importantly for the work that this program is doing. You used the phrase transformation earlier, and it certainly does sound like something that if we can replicate this throughout the state and the nation, this is something that could be transformative, and God knows that this is the kind of transformation we need in our country and our society today. In honor of Boaz's visit with us today, he has signed the book plate for the book, The Wonderful Things You Will Be. Seems like an appropriate title for the topic, by Emily Winfield Martin, and it will be donated to the Lincoln Charter School here in the city of York. We know Walt Tilley from his work with our youth exchange program, but next week he's going to come in his role as a partner at his law firm, Stock and Leader, to share a fresh approach on responding to America's labor shortage. Yes, it's true, Walt does something other than youth exchange. In 2021, businesses in the United States added nearly 4 million jobs. At the same time, the United States has 3 million fewer workers today than we did in February of 2020, just before the pandemic hit. Everywhere we see businesses advertising for workers. How can businesses recruit employees, and how do you retain employees who may think that the grass is greener with a competitor? Walt brings a heartwarming story his unique brand of humor, and an innovative business strategy. We hope you will attend our meeting next week. And just before closing, Elliot has asked me to extend an invitation to all of you to attend this evening's event at the JCC, Healing the Breach Through Diversity Education. And I'm glad that we did recognize Wade as one of the speakers this evening for that. He will be speaking, as well as Scott Mingus Sr., the author of 24 books on the American Civil War and the Underground Railroad, and our speaker today. Please go to the JCC website to register if you'd like to come this evening. By the way, last thing on Elliot, I learned at lunch that Elliot is leaving Saturday to do his eighth Bike for Israel trip, where he will be bicycling from Jerusalem to Elad. Yeah, wow. I'm hoping to just get up and tie my shoes on Saturday morning, and you're gonna go do that. That's quite wonderful and quite impressive. Thank you, Elliot, for what you're doing. Our closing quote for today comes from Muhammad Ali, who said famously, "The man who has no imagination has no wings." I worked on that all morning. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this session is closed. Thank you.